Fighting not going to the dock before I come to see you guys. So we got started Wednesday, and I'm very pleased to be here. My call to worship is a little bit more of a story than a formed speech. A friend of mine in Houston, back when I first started the ministry, put in his newsletter. Back then we exchanged newsletters. There'd be mimeographed off, and the churches would exchange them, and we'd read each other's stuff and find out what others are doing. In his column one week, he said, "I've been getting some complaints from some of you that I've been talking about the same thing every Sunday." He said, "I appreciate your observation, and I'm so glad you've been listening, and I'm going to keep doing it till you get it right." Read something this week about millenniums and what they need and want. And I thought it was a pretty good analysis, because I think a lot of us still have some of those impulses and situations, because we're all living in the same atmosphere, the same struggles and the same problems. Just got different skills we're bringing to them. One of the things that it said was we want authenticity, and we want openness, and we want a chance to do something good, have something dedicated. And we're not here necessarily for entertainment. We're here for rest and renewal, ideas to wonder about, not to bring the truth, but explore the truth. Alice Walker said in one of her great books, The Color of Purple, there's a dialogue between her and her friend, and says, "You know, I've come to church and I see people, they're not coming to find God. They bring God with them." And we're going to explore those kind of issues and a lot more. But the light represents what it is, a light. As a kid on TV, we first got our TV when I was in the third grade. And there was a Sunday morning show, I think it was Sunday morning, sometime over the weekend, called by the Christophers, which was a Roman Catholic group. And their little theme song, or their cliche was, "It's better to light one candle than curse the darkness." Now, I can complain all day long. I am a class 1 whiner. And I've got this conceit that I'm sort of smart, so I can get behind some stuff. And I love history, because we don't know what we did behind us, we sure don't know what's coming in front of us. And Twain said, history doesn't repeat itself, it rhymes. And we got some humming going on right now that it's not about religion, it's not about spirituality, it's like being in the world. And we're here about skills and hopes. It's good to be with you. That this church goes back and has a story. The plaque's above the clock there. If you haven't read it, take a moment to read it. Sort of unique, the dome. A bunch of hippies got together and decided to be creative. I survived that era. I wasn't here with those hippies, but I was around with some other hippies. The hippies in Tennessee were a little less adventuresome, but we thought a few thoughts. Our legacy goes back many centuries. And there are a lot of personalities who've moved through their existence and had their experiences. That's good to remember. I was very fortunate to grow up as a little kid around old people. I mean, they were 50 and 60 years old. And they looked 130, you know. But I had grandmothers and great-grandmothers and great uncles, and I was all ears. And there wasn't much going on except their stories and their remembrances and their conversations. I want to tell you about some of those people that are in our family as Unitarians and Universalists. I found Mary Catherine Ward. She was born in Litchfield, Connecticut. And James Monroe was President of the United States when she was born. And Teddy Roosevelt was President when she died. Her family was respectable, not rich, but respectable. And the local silk merchant married her. And they had a good old time because he was rich. They went to Europe as a young couple, and they lived together for about 6 years, and then he died. Well, she went to be the matron lady and got courted by the Universalist minister from Hartford, and she then became a wife again. She backed him up some because they moved around, and he did what the Universalists call missionary work. And she got so that she started to speak, carry on meetings, and be his surrogate, his partner. Well, they did that for a while, and then he died. So she's a widow twice now. And she has one more husband, and he was a publisher and writer. Well, Our Lady Mary went on to become a missionary with her third husband in Hico, Texas. Hico. I looked Hico, Texas up in my friendly Wikipedia, and it has 1,200 people. And nowadays it's tourism and not much else. But back then it was cattle and cows, and it was a going place. She wrote a book that's still in print, The Merry Christmas Tree. She wrote a couple novels that sold pretty good. She became a publisher. She was a member of the Texas Press Association. And she preached all over Texas. This is in the late 1800s, in the Gilded Age. She made a living preaching, writing, and being an activist. That's Mary. Mary adopted her niece and her brother's son and made a life. So that's Mary. She's one of our ancestors. And she tried to revival Texas. She didn't do well. You know what's going on in Texas. But that's a little of our legacy. My youngest son, Adam, inherited some of his daddy's and granddaddy's deficiencies. He died in January with a massive heart attack. He and his lady made 3 wonderful boys, and they're making it good as teenagers. Spent some time with them coming here and watched my son not be there. It was really the whole energy of their lives changed, and of course the whole family did. And I bring that sad note up to explain how he educated me a little bit. You know how much we learn from our children if we really are awake and watch. Sometimes it's sort of ugly, and sometimes it's good. Well, my Adam got involved with this young lady when they were in high school. And he was relentless in his courtship. Excuse me. And I'm getting used to the allergies here, so y'all bear with me. I had them in New Jersey. I had those down. They were fun. It was just cold all the time, and the wind was blowing. But anyway. So they have been off and on married since high school. And they made official divorce about 10 years ago. And they went their separate ways, but in the same community. And about 5 years later, they got back together. And they spent their last 5 years pretty happy and pretty healthy. But one of the pursuits that my son went, men will understand this and women can just sort of figure it out. Kelly went to church. And he had to go to church too. I'm sure none of you men in this building have done that in your career. But we'll talk about that off the side. Well, the church she found was one of these mega churches. And the fellow who's the founder He's been on national television. He's the one that's doing the man camps. And my Adam went with, about 150 men out in the woods, played frontiersman, and even drank beer. And they have a great Super Bowl Sunday where, beer's on tap. And I went several times with them. It was sort of a clinical study of what works. And I should be in blue jeans and, have biceps about, inappropriate for my age. But this is where this guy is. He's sort of, hip. And I sat there and I listened, and it was pretty neat. It was just sort of cheap grace within a 10-minute package. And it kicked off with a rock band that my chest nearly, I thought my second-hand heart was going to come out of my chest. And went one Sunday, and it was Communion Sunday, and I got a little wafer and a little Welch's juice in a little container, little tiny thing. I guess you can get them now, and you take off the top, like, cream when you get cream for your coffee. And there's a little wafer there. And the communion for, the 300 in the audience, and it was an audience, took 2 minutes. And his daughter was the minister that dealt with Adam and Adam's funeral. My oldest son, Amos, was the maestro of the event, and I just got to be daddy, watching all the goings-on, and also remembering all the years that I'd been on the other side of that. And the daughter, who was the minister who was in charge of the service and did a little eulogy after all the family, did not make a misstep. And it just ruined my day. They are delivering. They are delivering. And there was no talk of money anywhere either. And there was no charges. Now the story of this fellow and his startup was he had about 20 families in Pittsburgh. I think he was Presbyterian, I'm not sure. But about 15, 20 years ago, they pooled a pile of money. And now it's got 6 campuses across Cincinnati. And in other towns they're opening up. So I'm building up to what I want to talk about, our prospects and some warnings. We got a facility here, got a good location, got great leadership, always had. Had some rough times with some preachers, ministers. We're not going back there. I'm here now. And I'm not a dictator, but I'm not a fool either. And we're going to talk about things that are important and learn from one another. And be an option. To be an option. Now, the prospects are not us going back to fundamentalism. This fellow in that mega church was making their needs, making their offerings for folks to come in attractive. Pretty soft. Not a whole lot of demand, obvious. But one of the things they did, that the Jews did, that John Wesley did, that Quakers do, and even we did it, as Unitarian Universalist. When you got 10 or 12 together, you got a cell. You got a group. You become friends. You become co-ministers to one another. You take care as small cells. And UUCT is doing that. We'll build on that. I will hope to work with the worship committee, Sunday committee, and have some meaningful services here. But it's not all going to be talking. Okay? We're going to be doing some other stuff. And I want you to meet Mary Gaucher. You know Mary Gaucher? Good. I shared this with some of my minister friends at the mountain a couple of years ago, I guess, 3 years ago. And they've not heard it. See, I'm a blue jeans Unitarian Universalist. I grew up wearing blue jeans. I didn't get them. And they're, let's see, what are those? Those are the cheap Walmart brand. They fit better and they last just like everybody else. And you probably won't see them on the pulpit because I grew up where you get dressed up for meeting. It's about as formal as I'm going to get, but I might bring out my robe every once in a while because that's sort of fun. Prospects and warnings. I have this usual greeting with people that have come up on them. Before you will learn this, those of you who do not know me, I'm a performing introvert. I just learned that about 5 years ago. I didn't know there was such an animal. I thought you had to be an introvert or an extrovert. Those of you who knew Peggy, she was the world-class extrovert, and I was the introvert. But performing introverts come off pretty good, too, because they spend a lot of time thinking and wandering and watching. But when you come up to me, 9 times out of 10, I say, what's going on? Not, how are you? What's going on? And I don't know how I developed that, but both my boys will do that, too. What's going on, Dad? What's going on? Well, what is going on? I mean, right now, since November and last January and whatever else goes back in our consciousness over the last 24, 48, 36 months, pretty remarkable. I told you I love history and I'm a pretty good amateur historian. Well, we've been here before. Our ancestors have been. I think about Mom and Daddy at 17, 18, in 1941, December the 7th. I bet December the 8th was a day they talked about it. Think about your parents, your family. Lord, they've attacked Hawaii. And they're outside of Los Angeles. And somebody said they were in New Jersey, too, out in the water. See, we're a part of a long, long line of, damn, this ain't happening. It's been going on for a long, long time. I had a preacher preach at the little church at Ellisville, Mississippi, one day, and I was there, and he did something that I'd not heard before, and I thought I was pretty smart. I get that a lot. I learn I ain't that smart. I'm sure y'all don't have that problem. But he said, there's fight or flight, the two choices. You see something strange, you get out of the way, or you bow your back and go at it. But there's a third option for us, and that's meat. There's fight, flight, and meat. Now imagine those first stinking Spaniards and Portuguese and English who came upon the folks who lived around here the first time, and they probably smelt them a mile away. But they'd had a bath that morning. Cherokees, my people back up in Tennessee, they took 7 dunks every morning. Winter, summer, or in between. But they went out and they met them. Now some of them were pretty smart. They fought them, tried to kill them. But most of them were curious. Most of them came with an attitude of, this is special. What are these animals doing here? And what's that big boat? What's going on here? We're transitioning, guys. Since 1941, my mama worked on the atomic bomb. When those two came down and decimated a lot of people, a lot of ground, we've looked the other way with that. Because of bad choice of 2 options. Because my daddy was over there ready to go to Japan. And he'd been working as a hospital orderly in the South Pacific. And it scarred him the rest of his life. Both of his sons, his son and grandsons have all been caregivers. Doing something for people. We're not big on widgets or chopping cotton. But we can caulk and care, sort of. What's going on here? We're going through a desperate time of spiritual poverty. And I hope that we here can tend this oasis, both as clients, participants, partners, ministers, healers, for anyone who comes through this door. And we got no magic formula. We got no fire water that'll make you feel better for half an hour. And we've got no cheap words. We don't sell heaven here. We may be able to share in it. And we don't bring God to you on a silver platter with warm words and you're okay. Life is tough. Did you know we're all dying? Some of us are closer than others. But my boy was 45 and his granddaddy was 51. And I'm sure there's some kids over here at the hospital right now. So life is not guaranteed, but how we handle it is an option. And Unitarian Universalism has a heritage of spiritual and intellectual liberty. You don't have to believe anything you don't want to believe if it doesn't resonate with your soul. But don't sell yourself cheap. You've got to be smart of the heart. You've got to know that each one of us are walking wounded, struggling with something beyond our understanding. Because if you know it, you don't know it. God is a verb for me. It's an energy that moves and recreates and sustains. And I've got a little teddy bear above my mirror that was on one of the arrangements of flowers that was for Adam. And I've got a necklace with a deer's head on it. Adam was bear and Amos is buck. And when I was a kid, when Daddy wasn't mad at me, it was Buck. When he was mad at me, it was Doak. And my daddy picked out that name for me because it was special. He had Bill and Ralph and Everett. And he knew Doak Walker was the running back for SMU, All-American 1948. And a friend of his said to my sister that Daddy was so proud of that name. See, Daddy wasn't very demonstrative. Because his daddy was a son of a bitch. And he had to fight for his mama most of his life because he was a drunk too. So I know about liquor and meanness and race, sexism, because I've been in the lab a lot. And we don't have to be what we don't want to be. And love will guide us. And that's what will rescue us. I read this morning, and I thought it was so beautiful. This woman is 10 years younger than me. She's a historian. Her name is Diana Butler Bass. She started out as a Methodist, became an Episcopalian, and writes about religion and spirituality. Calls herself a progressive Christian. She has this note. Christianity did not begin with a confession. It began with an invitation into friendship, into creating a new community, into forming relationships based on love and service. See, power will use anything to manipulate us. The early church came into being because Constantine was tired of the Christians not going to war and paying taxes. And they were growing all over the Mediterranean. It was a cancer in Rome's empire. And Constantine was a politician and a pretty good general. And the story goes, and it's been told for centuries since, he saw the vision of the cross in the clouds of the storm, and he said, by this I will conquer. Man, that's good history. But convenient political bull hockey. It doesn't matter whether he saw that or not. He got 300 ministers together, bishops, and decided what was truth about Jesus. And the ones who lost the vote, that he was just a man, But boy, was he a fine man. He was inspiration and of God because he was such a fine man. He taught us how to live, to love beyond bearing, to go to war, to die for something, your friendship, something you believe in, to give the most precious thing you have for an ideal, an idea. Love and service. So for 1,400, 1,500, 1,800 years, Western culture has been based on a lie. And our ancestors, by not boasting, we got more responsibility. I got good news for you. It's like with the Jews, the chosen people. I got good news for you. That ain't the good news. You're the chosen people. Now do it. Show what love can do. And I think every generation, and maybe every person at a certain point, comes to a revelation and an epiphany that says, damn, I miss what it was all about. I can't buy health. I can't pay $1 million for an extra year. What if I've done this? Don't worry about that. Wherever you are, however you are, celebrate the love that has brought you there and share it. Don't be mad at life. Don't be mad at life. We live a miracle. We are a miracle. You know, human beings, think of it. I guess mammals, is it all mammals? We need to talk about this. They can't live on their own. You know, you birth a baby in the woods and you die, you're going to die. That baby ain't got a chance. So here we are at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Tampa. Has a checkered history. Blessed be, it's been alive. Made mistakes, been parts of mistakes. But we're an oasis for anyone who wants to come here and grow and claim life rather than curse it. And there's nothing wrong with you, nothing wrong with me. There's no model for how Doak, Maddox, Mansfield sort of should be. From where you came from, the same way. So give back. There are kids up here in the balcony. Talk to them every once in a while. Smile at them. I went through this period, guys. It was so much fun. I hung out at Panera in Newton, New Jersey. Became friends with them. Was there every morning. And these yuppies and these poor folks and these international people would bring their kids in. And usually with a pretty hassled, you know. Mama's trying to get things done. Dad's tired of his kid. You know, parenting. And I'd watch them. And I'd wave at them. And I'd give them this. And give them that. It was so much fun because invariably they would leave and make sure they saw me again. Just a little connection. Not a word. Just saw them. See, when we get to a certain point, we don't want to be seen anymore. But it's awfully important to be confirmed. It's okay. You're blessed originally, and you're blessed every day. Don't turn it away. See, I can just talk all afternoon, so I better quit. It's good to be here. We're going to have some fun, and we're going to learn some stuff. Don't quit tapping me. She told me, I told you I'm a performing introvert. It's like, Mama is saying in my ear, don't behave. Love you. Let's keep this going. Amen.